All right, so we're going to go through in this video and review how to classify matter. Remember, you've got two different major types of matter. You can have a pure substance or you can have a mixture. If you have a pure substance, that can be further divided up into an element and a compound. Okay? So if you have a pure substance, that's because you only have one type of atom or one type of compound. Okay? If it's an element, then you have only one type of atom. Okay? So copper, carbon, oxygen. If you have a compound, you have more than one type of atom and they are chemically bound together. So an example of that would be water, okay, or carbon dioxide. Okay. For a mixture, you've got two or more substances that are physically combined together, so they are not chemically bound together. And for a mixture, you can have a homogeneous mixture or you can have a heterogeneous mixture. In a homogeneous mixture, it is uniformly mixed. So for example, if I had tea or I had soda, right, I feel comfortable going into a dark place and consuming that item because I know I'm going to get the same thing every single time. In a heterogeneous mixture, you do not have uniform mixture. So for example, oil and water or a chocolate chip cookie, something like that. Okay? So let's look at these examples. If I have a lead weight, okay, just means I have lead. Well, lead is just one type of atom, so it's going to be a pure substance. And because it's just one type of atom, it's going to be an element. Okay? Seawater. Now, some of these questions do get a little bit tricky. When I'm talking about seawater, am I just talking about the water or am I talking about the ocean in general? Well, I'm going to be talking about just seawater. So seawater consists of water, some salts, some other impurities. So it is not going to be a compound, it is a mixture. However, I'm going to assume I'm just talking about the water I find in the ocean, not all the other components. So I'm going to assume it is uniformly mixed. So it's going to be homogeneous. Okay? Distilled water. Distilled water is just a nice way of saying pure H2O. I'm not talking about tap water, I'm just talking about H2O. Well, since you have two different atoms, and that's it, one type of substance throughout, then I know I have a pure substance, but because the two atoms are chemically bound together, I have a compound. Okay? Caesar dressing. When I have Caesar dressing, I know that I have more than one type of molecule or element. I've got a number of different things, including water, fat, all the different seasonings and everything like that. So I know I have a mixture. If you think about Caesar dressing, though, you've got those little specks through it. Okay? So if you want to think about it in that sense and get into the minutia of it and talk about the little dots that you might get, then you would call it a heterogeneous mixture, saying that it's not evenly distributed. If you want to just think about it overall, that it has a very smooth and consistent consistency, then you would say it's homogeneous. So for some of these, on a quiz or a test or in discussion, we might have two different answers based on how we are viewing the substance we're talking about, and that's fine. All right, mercury in a thermometer. So we're just talking about mercury. So mercury is found on the periodic table. It's just one type of atom. So it's a pure substance. And because it is just one type of atom, it is an element. Finally, tomato soup. Well, tomato soup has a number of different components that are physically combined together. So it's going to be a mixture. But it's the same throughout, unless you have chunky tomato soup. And then again, you can stipulate if it were chunky tomato soup, it's heterogeneous. But here I'm going to assume it's smooth tomato soup, so I'm going to say that it is homogeneous. Okay. Next, it asks you to look at these particle diagrams and decide whether or not you have an element, compound, or a mixture. So if you look at A there, you've got one type of atom here, and then you've got a different type of atom here. But notice the atoms are chemically combined, okay? And all of these are all the same. You don't have different types of molecules. So I know that this is going to be a compound because I have more than one type of atom, a dark one and a light one, that are chemically bound together. But it is a pure substance and therefore a compound because you have the same compounds throughout it. In B, notice I've got two different types of atoms, but they are not chemically bound, they're not chemically combined, they are physically combined. Okay? So as a result, because there are two different types of atoms that are physically combined, this is a mixture. And then finally, here, I've got just one type of atom throughout, and it's all the same, so this is going to be an element.